acts as that front line, it acts as a tank, disengage, engage, it can kind of provide everything. And when you pair it up with something like the Lilia, I think you have that mixed damage profile, and it can be a very prevalent duo.
And alongside that, it looks like Loken is going to get his Ashe. 18 games of that played across the course of summer. Very strong on the champion. And of course, we have seen how powerful those Enchanted Crystal arrows can be, how much utility you bring to the lane, how easy it is for an Ashe to get pushed in the bottom lane and help out their jungler as well. Now we'll see where PSG decide to go with their next rotation. Jungle is usually the expectation.
It certainly is. Looks like that the Ornn is the hover for now. Notice that the Lilia priority has shifted significantly lower relative to what we had in play-ins where it was perma-ban. We've still been seeing a lot of bans from the Lilia, but it seems that teams are getting better at dealing with it and usually prefer the Graves. Last game, we saw an absolute clinic from Canyon, where he utilized the Graves to perfection, pretty much denying every single blue buff away from Rogue, and it showcases the power that this champion can have. When you have those pushing lanes, when you have lanes that can help get you that priority, your invade power, your dueling power can be very, very difficult to deal with. So we'll see if River can have a good game, because yesterday he didn't really get to play League of Legends. The game was pretty much handed over at level 1 with some creative level 1 plays that Rogue was able to come up with.
Rogue, with that Callista combo, was just able to keep a tank on, well, in the fountain most of the game, let's be honest. He kept getting just shut down early on. The Sylas locked in now for JDG. I like Sylas in this sort of composition. You're looking at collateral damage, you're looking at Call of the Forge God, you're looking at the Curtain Call from the Jhin. You've already got 3 God ultimates, and if you don't get 2 more, it's not the end of the world.
You've also got a mixed damage profile and a lot of flexibility in this draft. The Sylas can be put into the Ornn matchup up towards the top side, or you can keep it mid lane depending on whatever matchup he gets. So JDG kind of keeping their options open right now, staying very flexible, haven't locked in a jungler yet, haven't committed to anything, but they're not forced into picking an AP jungler here because they do have the Sylas in their back pocket. So now their priority is banning away supports because they will get first pick. They can lock in something like the Nautilus if they want to get it for themselves. They could also potentially ban away the Tahm Kench here to deny that pick safety that, you know, is often picked into things like an Ashe. So we'll have to see what their priority is for the time being.
And of course, they still have the option of flexing that Sett into support. LvMao has actually played it more than anyone else on the rest of the team. So you could do Sett jungle, you could do Sett top, you could do Sett support, and that flexibility just opens up a wealth of opportunities for JDG.
Looks like support bans are going to continue to come through from JDG, going to take the Thresh off the board. PSG are likely going to continue to ban out the junglers. They've already taken the Kindred away from Kanavi. Definitely a comfort pick for him. I do wonder what direction he will go. I know a lot of people are excited to see Kanavi on the international stage. His game 1 was not the best, but definitely still high expectations. The Lilia will be banned out. Of course, he does have a very deep champion pool. It was JDG that actually brought out the Evelynn-Lucian combo in playoffs up against LGD, and whew, they looked very scary with that duo. But again, they're keeping their jungle pick hidden for the time being, unless they've already locked it in. Again, a lot of flexibility in this draft. Looks like that this Pantheon is going to be the support option. So JDG going for that very offensive 2 vs 2, the strong pushing power of the Ashe combined with the all-in aggression that a Pantheon can provide.
And what I like about that is you were talking about how River on this Graves would like to have priority in his lanes, and into a Pantheon Ashe, it's actually very difficult to gain priority. They're going to push you in constantly, even if you team Jhin up with a supportive sort of long-ranged support like a Lulu. It's still really hard for you to gain any pressure over a Pantheon and the Ashe. Syndra locked in for tank in the mid lane. Now we'll see what support PSG decide will round out their composition the best. I love Bard. We've already seen it once today. Mickey had a stellar performance on it, and that's what Kaiwing's going to take for himself.
It's also a big comfort pick for Kaiwing, so they're going to stick to what they know and love. Again, after a rough game yesterday, PSG, they've got a pretty well-rounded draft. You can see that they've got very front-to-back with the Ornn in the front line. They're going to rely on him to face-check these objectives, act as that main priority tank. Meanwhile, JDG, they're going to mix things up. It looks like that we're going to get the Ekko in the mid lane. Yeah. We're going to be getting Kanavi on the Sylas. And we talked about how flexible this draft could be. They saved it till the last moment, and they were able to swap things around. And I'm really excited to see this. Yagao now going to have a winning matchup in the mid lane. They're going to have the Ornn up against the Sett in the top side of the map, so they're going to be able to generate pressure there. And it feels like when PSG, they wanted to try and play for this Graves. They wanted to get him those prior lanes so he could look to try and invade, but he's not going to get that when JDG have been able to finesse the draft and have got themselves pretty much winning matchups all across the board.
It's going to be a game where both these teams really need to get back into their comfort zone, really need to show the world exactly how well they can play. JDG yesterday were 10k gold behind at the 21-minute mark. PSG, little better. It took 23 minutes for them to fall 10k gold behind. PSG didn't even get a kill yesterday in the group stage. So today, both these teams will come out swinging, because you look at the rest of that group, you look at Rogue, who were better against Damwon than JDG. You look at Damwon, who have demolished all of their opposition so far, and you think, well, we need to win games like this to make sure we are in the running for second spot.
It's definitely an important game. Both these teams looking for a win. Let's see what happens. We're going to be jumping onto the Rift shortly. I'm excited to see if we get any early level 1 plays. JDG, they tried that level 1 against Damwon yesterday. Didn't quite work out, but I give more credit to Damwon and how they read and expected the play. And I feel like all we've seen is good preparation from Damwon. Let's see if PSG are able to do the same thing. How will they handle any early game aggression that JDG may want to bring onto the Rift? LPL yet to get a win today. Of course, Machi getting that big win earlier on in the day. Both regional representatives like 1 win, 1 loss. We'll see if they can balance the scales here in this 4th game of the day.
And I think a lot of people might undervalue just how good PSG are as a team. Like, a lot of people saying Kongwei and Uniboy, you know, they were better, you should keep them in. Obviously unable to do that because of the way that substitutions have worked throughout the playing stage. But Tank and River were part of the PSG team that beat Machi eSports in the semi-finals. They 3-2'd them. Yes, they lost the finals, but this is the epitome of the PSG lineup. And although we didn't see it yesterday, my expectation is they come back onto the Rift today with a renewed vigor and will really take it to JDG.
Well, let's see if they can. JDG.
There's the level 1 you wanted.
Yep, they're gonna... Well, it's not really a late invade. They're just denying some vision. They're getting a bit of information as to where River is looking to start. You can see Kanavi pathing up towards the top side right now. Not that surprising. They may want to do a top into bot side clear so that he can look for a potential early gank towards the bot side of the map when you have the Ashe Pantheon. Very easy gank setup. You can also see Yagao going for the electrocute on the Ekko as well. There's a lot of debate, around things like Hail of Blades, which can be very prevalent in terms of the level 1 matchup and getting a lot of aggression in the 1v1.
For the moment, Yagao is just going to push in tank. Ekko into Syndra, a good matchup for the Ekko, but River's already here. Yagao hits 2. Flashes away as River flashes forward, looking for the red buff slow. Just needs another auto attack to get it on, but can't quite do it. Yagao forced out of lane. LvMao is going to dive in the bottom lane. LvMao, obviously, not LvMao. That's the only time I'll slip that one up this game, I promise.
So already we're seeing a lot of early aggression from both sides. Yagao wanting to try and get some pressure in the 1v1 matchup because Ekko at level 2 can already generate a huge amount of pressure. Thanks to the 3-hit passive, thanks to the electrocute, you could put that Syndra on the back foot, and PSG wanted to try and punish that. So a very early gank from River to put him behind, forces the flash out, and now Yagao has to be a lot more cautious with his aggression. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, LvMao and Loken already leveraging the power of this Pantheon Ashe and looking to get that early push.
You can see there were 4 caster minions there, but there is an 8 CS lead for Loken. So it's still going to be about a 5 to 6 CS, even if Unified is able to pick up every single one of these minions that is scattered before him. Now Kanavi and Yagao are actually going to look towards the bottom side of the map. Could just be going for vision here.
Wow.
It feels like in a very aggressive dive when Ekko doesn't have flash, but it seems like they're going for it, Vedi.
Pantheon very good at early tower dives, remember, because you do have the E to mitigate a lot of the tower damage, but you could see that this is the play that they wanted to make, but for some reason they decided to back off. Instead, they turned their attention on to River, and they're actually not going to get anything off the back of this. PSG, perhaps completely unawares that their life hung in the balance there, as PSG do choose to disengage.
Tank's going to get locked up here by Kanavi, has to use the flash to get away, so now both mid laners without their flashes.
You can already see the Yagao Kanavi synergy coming through, as they're already moving around the map so much, trying to instigate plays in the mid lane. Forcing that flash out from Tank now puts him on the back foot. A 7 CS advantage already being built up in the mid lane for Yagao. He's going to get a great back timing, and he probably doesn't even have to use his teleport here, which is great for him because he's then going to have that TP advantage over Tank. We'll see if he does choose to burn it, as River is now hovering around the bot side.
LvMao's going to dive in onto Unified. LvMao caught up with Captive Audience. The stun doesn't quite land there from Kaiwing.
Notice that Loken in that trade did not stop hitting Unified. the moment that he saw River, he was like, the only way we lose this is if Unified gets to turn this around, but he doesn't give him the opportunity to. He's too low, so he has to disengage.
Just see that experience on Ashe for Loken paying off early doors here. Kanavi's going to be able to get double scuttle. Doesn't quite have that level 4, but is looking down towards the bottom lane once again. There's a ward just across the wall here. LvMao's going to clear that one out with the sweeper. Kanavi actually takes it in the end. Kaiwing and Unified, what have they got? They've got the cleanse, they've got a heal. Is that enough to get away from the JDG dive? LvMao caught out underneath the tower, but it was Loken tanking, and there's the first kill of the game. Kanavi's now going to have to try and get away because River is on his way down, but River will not be there in time to get anything else out of this.
Great dive from JDG, and you can already see this early game aggression coming through, trying to leverage the power of the Pantheon to set up dives. Loken forced the cleanse.
Unified was looking for the 4th shot. Bonk into the head of Loken, but Loken with a reactive flash gets himself out of vision.
Does force Loken to burn both of his summoner spells, but I love this aggression that we're seeing from JDG. They must feel frustrated after that game versus down 1 yesterday, and they come into the game from level 1 and they do not slow down, trying to utilize the power of these lane dominant champions that they do have in their draft.
You can see it paying off. About 700 to 800 gold at the advantage. We haven't really looked at top lane too much. Hanabi's been forced back here by Zoom. As expected, you talked about the pressure Sett can put on an Ornn in the early game. Well, it's paying off on the scoreboard as well. About a 10 to 14 CS lead there. And now, well, I was expecting Zoom to perhaps take his first recall, but instead he wants to get another wave and make sure that Ornn is stuck underneath his turret.
Whew. All right. Oh, my throat. Right. I'm looking now at the top lane. LvMao has got early boots. A wave is stacking up towards the top side of the map. Level 6 has been hit. Yagao level 6 as well. PSG is in danger.
Hanabi just hit 6 and leveled up the Call of the Forge God, and now LvMao is coming up with Yagao. There's the showstopper to try and pull River away from the turret. The knockup's going to come through, but already the kill goes down. JDG, they're second on the board, and this proactivity is pleasing to the eye.
Notice that JDG changed targets. They realized that River was sitting here only at level 4 and could cleanly execute upon the dive. Flash in from Zoom immediately onto River, locks him down. Means that they don't have to gamble diving that tanky Ornn this early on into the game. They still get what they want. But now they have their eyes set on Tank. The stun coming through, here it comes.
And a shift going to be available as well. Yagao dives underneath the turret. Tank just has nowhere to go. One more auto. Yagao swipes away and Tank goes back to the fountain.
Matt, LvMao is just such a joy to watch.
Yeah,
this guy is a roaming god. Like, watching his Bard in the playoffs of the LPL was just so pleasing to the eye, and now we're getting to see him on the Pantheon. This is very much what so many experts around the world anticipated. He's considered one of the best supports. He roams so much, and like, it doesn't matter who he's with. He can be roaming with his mid laner, he's roaming with his jungler, it doesn't matter. He's constantly going to be looking for plays, and he's making great use of this Pantheon in the early game. Really great play in the mid lane.
And you can see as well, Loken hasn't really lost out too much in the bottom lane because of it. He's actually ahead on CS over this Jhin. Kaiwing and Unified weren't able to jump on the fact that there wasn't a support there. Hanabi using a little bit of input buffering there to make sure he gets back underneath the tower. But early doors, this is an incredible start for JDG. Much more explosive in their favor than their game yesterday. And PSG once again are being put back on the ropes, Vedius.
Yes, they certainly are. Now, right side for PSG is they do have control of the bot side of the map. They should have information that Kanavi is here, and this could have been an opportunity for them to actually start off the Drake. They're probably just a little concerned because Zoom does have the teleports. They don't have Prio in mid lane, but they're trying to reclaim it right now. I feel like PSG need to be trying to get something else back on the map. Maybe a little bit of deep vision, maybe threatening Loken with a dive because he still doesn't have any summoner spells. But it feels like that they're just trying to respond, and now they're trying to collapse onto JDG. But I think they're just going to be able to walk out from this one, or maybe not.
Zoom steps forward, Call of the Forge got stolen away from Kanavi. He's going to land the double knock-up, and Hanabi doesn't have his own ram to batter down the JDG top laner, so Zoom is able to escape, as is Kanavi.
So PSG decided rather than make a cross-map play, they just wanted to try and collapse onto JDG, and you can see that that did not work out in their favor. So now LvMao is going to use this as an opportunity to move into the enemy bot side jungle, start getting a little bit of information, get a bit of vision, and Loken's going to be free to get a bunch of plays in the bot side.
Now, what I love when you play a support like Pantheon and Pike are the quintessential examples of this, is early roaming doesn't just net you gold. What it nets you is vision control, because as soon as you can get to the Umbral Glade, you can deny so much more vision from your opponents, and your roams become so much more potent, and PSG are trying to stop that by going in on the bottom lane. Deadly Flourish lands on Loken, and there's nowhere for him to go. Hanabi will take the kill.
So I was concerned that PSG wouldn't be able to punish the flashless Loken, but they're able to finally get their first kill of the game. They're going to look to convert this into the first Drake of the game as well. PSG answering back some of the aggression that we've been seeing from JDG.
It's a good TP investment. Of course, Zoom still has his, but he'll stay up in the top lane for now. Navi's actually looking to get in here. Magical Journey's available for PSG, and they're just going to run out of the pit. The Dragon isn't low enough for River, and he can't get the auto as attacks off. Almost goes down in the end, secured by Yagao. And what looked good for PSG has totally turned on its head as Kanavi almost lands the abscond. Duck steals away the tempered bait. River has to flash.
Even at a numbers disadvantage, JDG's like, yeah, we can fight this. Yep. Level 7 on the Sylas, level 8 on the Ekko. JDG knew that with their skirmishing power, they could just dive in. They were blocking the autos from River as well. They deny the Drake. They don't get themselves any kills, but they burn even more summoner spells. And you can see this is almost classic LPL aggression, right? Like, they will fight you for these objectives. If they see an opportunity where, you know, even if it's a 50-50, they're not afraid to take these gambles. And, like, to be fair to JDG, that wasn't really a gamble from their perspective. They were like, we have a health advantage, we have our ultis up.
Like, numbers advantage.
Yeah, like, what disadvantage in that situation?
Oh, yeah.
It was 2 versus 3, but they knew that tank was in the mid lane, and that was the crucial thing. Because the Syndra wasn't there was an opportunity for them to force it, and they noticed that Unified came into the pit last. Because the Jhin comes in last, they see, oh, if we just focus him, we can chunk him out, and then that 2 versus 3 is not actually a 2 versus 3 because Unified is forced to run away. So really good awareness there from JDG, continuing to accelerate the gold lead.
And alongside getting the Dragon, you also got 3 plates in the top lane, and now you're looking for another dive, and Hanabi, who doesn't have the teleport, does have a flash, but no ultimate available for him, means he's going to get locked up underneath the turret. Flashes away, TP burnt from tank, just to try and make sure that JDG couldn't get any more.
JDG just do not slow down. Constantly they're looking for plays, constantly they're moving around the map, and now PSG, they're going to have 5 people on the top side of the map. They want to contest this Rift Herald. Let's see if they can get it.
At the moment, Tank's just going to set up around it. Getting this would help PSG sort of close in on JDG in terms of gold, assuming you can use it to get some of those plates. They'll have about 2.5 minutes to do it after the Rift Herald goes down, but LvMao does have the ultimate. LvMao does have the ultimate. And PSG will just back away from the Rift Herald. Weren't willing to take it, not knowing where JDG were.
Wow, so they invest 5 people into the top side of the map, Medic, and they get absolutely nothing for it. It feels like that PSG are just kind of like chasing their tail between their legs, you know, constantly watching JDG make all these moves around the map, and they feel like that they see these small windows, but then it ends up faltering. They're not willing to commit to the play, and now they recognize, okay, well now JDG, after pushing in bot, Loken and LvMao have made their way up to this objective. This is going to be the Rift Herald for JDG, and they don't have to burn this early. They don't have to force this objective if they don't want to because of the Drake spawning in 2 minutes. Utilizing this to generate a pressure point to make securing the second Drake that much easier is a very simple play that JDG could look to do.
And it's a much stronger performance from JDG than what we saw from him yesterday. 3,000 gold ahead at the 12-minute mark. And a lot of that gold is sitting on their key carry in Yagao.
You know, we've been talking a lot about LvMao already in this game, but also vision score has been something that we've been drawing a lot of attention to throughout the group stages here at Worlds 2020. Notice the vision score already. You know, you see a couple 8s in there, 10s, 11s, 29!
Yep.
13 minutes into the game for LvMao. This man has been moving around the map, investing so much vision, protecting the vision as well. Like, this man is a monster.
I will add the addendum. Zombie Ward exists, Pantheon has it, so that will always buffer up your vision score numbers, but as you say, LvMao now with the Umbral Glaive is only going to get more vision control over this map, and it's going to mean you get into this situation where PSG have to face check. They have to get into darkness, and who's going to do that for you? Really, only Hanabi is available because their Bard's going to get blown up, the Jhin's going to get blown up, the Syndra's going to get blown up, and the Graves is going to get blown up.
It's a good point, Medic. Now let's have a look at the map state right now, because the Dragon is going to be spawning in about a minute's time, and this is where you really start to see teams setting up for it. You'll notice that for the time being, JDG is actually committing a lot towards the top side of the map. That's because they want to be able to take this tower and then rotate to bot, but PSG are trying to stop.
Really nice tempered fate, but they don't land the stun on Kanavi, who dodges away, and now the TP comes in from Yagao. He's looking to try and get onto tank. Proto Belt goes forward, the time window slices straight through tank, but he's able to get back underneath the tower. Hanabi didn't have his TP to rejoin this fight. PSG have been forced back in the top lane.
So what does this mean? Well, JDG do have to commit a TP, but now Unified is stuck on the top side of the map with 30 seconds until the Drake. So at this position, there's no way that PSG can look to contest because they've lost the mid priority. This is going to be easy for JDG. JDG don't care. They're going for the fight.
You can't do that to a Bard. He's just around here collecting his meeps and getting some chimes, and here comes the Starfall. LvMao's going to dive the turret in the top lane, and he still has the Aegis Assault. Unified down. LvMao gets the second.
Wow. JDG like, yeah, we don't care about the Dragon right now. We're just playing for kills. We got to pad that KDA out. They're able to get 2 in the top side of the map. They shut down Unified and Kaiwing. And they continue to accelerate their gold lead.
I mean, Kaiwing in that situation is just a very, very sad Bard. You can see JDG, 1,440 gold picked off the turrets through that plating. PSG with a big fat null point, 0 gold from it, and because of that, JDG are now 5,500 gold ahead.
This is just a great example of how to use your priority in lane to just move around the map. And Kaiwing, he's just walking into the bush thinking he's safe. There's a level 10 Sett sitting there waiting for you. Zoom's like, yeah, I know that I can just tank this tower. You know what, LvMao, I'll give this one to you. You've had a great vision game. I'll give you a couple kills to help pad out that KDA. He's able to 1v1 Unified. And now they're able to set up for the Drake as well. PSG just cannot move on the map without JDG entering.
And you get into this really awful situation where PSG have a comp that fights well in team fights, but you look at the threat that comes out from JDG. You've got Zoom to disengage Hanabi if he ever goes in. You've got Yagao diving onto your backline. You've got LvMao diving onto your backline. You've got Kanavi diving onto your backline. And if you ever get through them, you still have Loken sitting on a Blade of the Ruin King with a 20 CS lead, who's just going to be rattling out the Rangers' focus.
The thing is, you can't even say for sure that PSG even outscales in this situation, because who's going to stop Yagao on a side lane? Like, who's going to be able to deal with Zoom later on into the game? Like, Kanavi's only going to get stronger as the game goes on as well. And then, of course, you've got the classic Ashe with the late game carry. Like, PSG, they needed to try and make some plays in the early game. That's falling apart. JDG, they're not slowing down. They're looking for another play mid.
Kaiwing caught up in the parallel convergence, pops the stopwatch, but only some time for a second tempered fake. Get the double, go golden. Call of the Portugal's going to come through as well, but Kaiwing is already done for. And Jada Crystal Hour goes wide as now they dive onto Tank. Kanavi steals away his ult, says anything you can do, I can do slightly worse right now as Tank doesn't quite go down.
Yeah, the damage from the 3 orbs not quite enough, but LvMao continuing the chase, looking for the spear, just barely misses it, which means the Tank is going to be able to walk away with his life, but PSG continue to lose more on the map. That's another 2 kills going in the favor of JDG. They've extended their goal lead to what? Is that 7.5, 8k now in their favor, 16.5 minutes in. This was the dominant performance that I think many expected from JDG, and definitely a big bounce back after their game yesterday.
And it definitely gives them hope looking at the rest of the group as well. In this Axe replay, we see Kanavi just diving onto Kaiwing. Kaiwing does everything he can to survive.
It's just a matter of stalling here, Medic. He's trying to buy time, waiting for his team to join the fray, but they cannot get there fast enough. Yagao with the 1v1, level 8 to level 11. It's just not fair. Yagao with the easy pickup on the Ekko. JDG just looking dominant here in this game.
And although JDG are known as the more team fight team from the LPL, they are still bloodthirsty. They still get a huge amount of kills per minute, and actually are very good at getting kills without giving up death. So the combined kills of both teams in their games is quite low, 7th in the league. But their kills a minute is actually 2nd. They almost get half a kill every minute. They just don't give up that many deaths. And you see that in this game as well. They're going, 7-1 up, 8,000 gold lead, 2 dragons to 0. And now with control of every single lane, it is a mountain to climb for PSG.
And it's one of the things that you always have to be cautious of when playing against the top LPL teams, because regardless of their playstyle, you have to know that they're going to be willing to skirmish you, regardless of the situation. And that's not to say that they will recklessly skirmish you. Sometimes they will, for sure.
I watched Suning play G2 earlier.
Yeah, for sure. But a team like JDG, they're a little bit more calculated in their approach. And again, when you look back to that Dragon play earlier, when they were at a numbers disadvantage, have to hold that as Yagao in a 1v3.
He still has the chrono shift and the parallel convergence, going to dive onto River, and the magical journey took everyone away from him, and now River has to flash, get to the magical journey, but the chrono shift is enough. Yagao and Kanavi opening up. Call of the Forge God was used, I believe. No, it wasn't. That was the Grand Starfall as LvMao joined the fight.
And this is the calculated skirmishing we were talking about. Look at how patient Yagao was. 1v3, he does not mind, and now they're going for the dive.
Oh, Unified, like he was doing everything he should do in that situation. He was backing away from the tower. He was saying, yep, you guys can have it. And now the Tempered Fate comes out as Hanabi tries to join the fray. But so far, we have yet to see a JDG player die. And there's the third from PSG. There's the fourth. Make it 5. JDG with a clean ace in the bottom lane.
Wow. And the only reason why is because River just respawned. JDG are absolutely dismantling PSG. 19 minutes into the game, they're looking to break into the base. PSG have no answers.
JDG are 11,000 gold ahead at the 19-minute mark. This is a demolition to say the least. And they are answering the people who yesterday questioned whether they should be still tournament favorites.
Medic, it was you that said yesterday at 20 minutes, was it at 20 minutes, the largest gold lead?
21 minutes, Down One had a 10k lead over JDG.
JDG go and answer that by going at 19 minutes. We're going to get ourselves a 10k lead. And as you rightly said, they're proving why they should still be considered strong contenders for the tournament. Let's have a look back at this dive. Honestly, there's not a huge amount to break down outside of Unified dies. Then the rest of the team dies. The TP comes through. And while I think this play was great from Kaiwing into the knockup from Hanabi, the deficit is just so much.
Yeah, they do everything on the support and on Kanavi, and they just can't kill him. And then, you know, Zoom's tanking up the tower, JDG are tanking up the tower, they get the inhibitor in the bottom lane, and now the Baron's on the cards for them if they want. You can see Unified really didn't have a chance to participate in that last game, as now LvMao's going to push forward. What I like from PSG is they're still trying to get their vision pockets. They're still trying to find their picks. It's just so difficult to do when it takes 3 of your players to kill 1 on the opposite team.
And I think you made a great point earlier, Medic, in that you need Hanabi to be that face-checking tool, because if he's not there, if that front line isn't there for you, if you face-check into any of these members from JDG, you're just going to get executed on the spot. So PSG kind of rely on Hanabi, which means they're forced to send Tank off into a side lane, which means the Tank is standing there next to Yagao, who's 206, has 3 completed items, one of which is a Mejai Soul Stealer. And you're like, well, this is just very unfortunate. And PSG in a very difficult situation right now. Of course, they're looking like they're going to be going 0-2 in the group stages. They still have Damn One to face up against next, and only makes the group stages harder for them when you're 0-2 down this early on in the group stage.
It really does, especially when you see how close some of the other teams are. Down One seem to be far and away the best in this group, but Rogue and JDG, after both of their performances versus PSG, perhaps that's going to be a close game. Arrow dodged away from Unified there, thought he flashed into it for a second, but he was able to just about escape. Yagao comes in from the side as well.
They're looking for the fight, Medic.
Yes, they are, Vedius, but they're not going to find it this time. They have no minion waves, so they're not going to be able to pressure this turret for too much longer, as PSG are able to walk through the walls and get back inside their base.
Well, right now, JDG have no interest in the Baron. They have their eyes set on the mid lane. They could just dive this, Medic. But notice that Hanabi's been forced to join the fray, but this is giving the freedom for Zoom to just keep pushing in the top wave. Meanwhile, on the bot lane, there are super minions knocking on the doors of PSG's Nexus towers.
Tank will go and answer them for the time being, but the gold lead continues to extend as JDG deny any ability of River to find a fellow pal in the jungle. He hasn't had a single one of his camps in the last few minutes, and now JDG say, okay, enough of this. We can see you answering the bottom lane. We're actually going to leave Yagao down there because he has the teleport to join the fight, and we will start up this Baron. This might be the only opportunity for PSG to get back in this game.
And you can see that Kaiwing is on his way. He does have the Bard ultimate to try and stall this objective out. Gonna have Zoom tank things up. Let's see what Yagao does. He has the TP. The Bard ulti comes through.
TP flank. There's a separate TP coming out as LvMao tries to jump onto the Hanabi. Call of the Forge God wasn't used back in response, but here comes the curtain call. Yagao has a good flank position onto River, but he is isolated from the team. Curtains are open. Loken the target. Kanavi was able just to escape from the side. There's the arrow coming back in, and Yagao dives forward. And here comes the showstopper. Zoom into the back line. 1 down, 2 down, make it 3, make it 4, and make it 5 as JDG just sweep away at PSG. Tank almost escapes, but Yagao's having none of that. Chases him down. The ace comes out for JDG. They didn't even need the Baron.
Wow, so initially that fight did not look great for JDG. Kanavi getting chunked out, LvMao dying almost immediately, but the gold advantage they have is just too big. They're looking to get themselves a 23-minute victory, and JDG back on form.
JDG slapping PSG around with their wallets. They will claim their first win of Worlds.
And what a dominant performance from JDG.
game that's going to be.
It's going to be hype. But of course, for PSG, things are only going to get harder as they go up against Damwon. Maybe they can make a miracle upset happen because Damwon are looking dominant right now, and it's going to be an uphill battle for to climb.
It really is. And PSG, of course, they've had their ups and downs throughout the course of the tournament so far, with Plains having Uniboy and Kongwei come in for the team. Now we're seeing River and Tank back in. They're back to their usual roster, but they haven't quite clicked yet. Of course, only 2 games so far.
Feels like that they just don't get to play, my friend. It feels like that there's a bit of a draft difference, and then the relentless aggression that just comes out from both Rogue and JDG have been so oppressive.
Yeah, we are going to have another look at one of the plays from that game. It's our favorite player, Vedius, LvMao, the Oppo player of the game, with some incredible Pantheon performances. We'll have a look at this dive from him, Kanavi, and Loken in the bottom lane.
So this is really where everything started for JDG, setting up this dive, getting these early kills onto the bot side of the map, opened up LvMao to start roaming around. He helps work with Yagao, knows that Tank has no flash, sets up the chain CC, Tank doesn't get to move, and it's just this constant repetition of moving around the map, looking for plays. And again, as we mentioned, it doesn't matter who he's playing with, he will look to make these plays. Bot lane, mid lane, jungle, top lane, he's just all across the board.
And what I love about it as well is JDG drafted around having the Pantheon. Drafted around having someone who, if they are able to get a point-and-click stun on your opponents, you can follow up with more CC. You think of the parallel convergence, you think of the face breaker, you think of the abduct coming out from the Sylas. Like, if someone is in one place, it's so much easier for that JDG comp just to lock onto them and kill them.
And I loved what we saw from JDG in the draft as well. Constantly keeping that flexibility open with the early Sett and the early Sylas. You never really knew where it could go, and if they keep that flexibility, I think that it's going to make them even harder to deal with moving into the rest of the group stage.
It's going to be an exciting rest of the group stage, to be sure. After the break, though, we'll look ahead towards Game 5 as TSM challenges LCK's Gen G.